Okay, so I'm back in sunny southern Alberta. I've been enjoying the comforts of my gas heated home in the days immediately following our participation in the protests at Standing Rock. And I've been doing a lot of thinking based on our experiences there, and in reflection after engaging in some debates online. Both about Standing Rock and more broadly about the political climate in the United States. And well, I think I'm probably going to continue to think about these things, generate new opinions about them, new understandings, new ideas and such. Figured I might as well do a little bit of recording today, put some of it out there, some of my initial thoughts now that I'm home and trying to digest what just happened. I guess for me right now, in the broadest sense, I'm a bit concerned. I don't want to be a fearmonger. I don't want to be one of these guys that's pushing that fear button in people's minds. But at the same time, I'm not an old guy, and yet I don't remember in my lifetime ever hearing so much conversation about a potential for civil war. And it did seem to me at Standing Rock, at least, that there was, which is not to say that Standing Rock is the same thing, that there's a, sorry, breathing in the cold air, that there's any kind of direct correlation between what happened at Standing Rock and the broader American politic. But at Standing Rock, what I observed, what I experienced, and how, at least how I'm understanding it. So I went there with the idea of being part of a protective mechanism, a defensive mechanism against a bullying police, potentially National Guard force, trying to carry through on orders from the governor of the state to evict the camp of water protectors. Everybody saw the mistreatments that were occurring, and I do say they're mistreatments because people's right to peacefully protest is equal to a corporation's right to carry out its business. And when the police and the state sides with the corporation and is willing to endanger the people who may be protesting over the corporation, well, that's the state, that's the industrial complex, the industrial war complex that we're living in. We cannot confuse that with any kind of real democratic society, any sense that there are such things as human rights, or, you know, we have a lot of ideologies in our head that just aren't truthful. But what I saw at Standing Rock was, when I got there, the situation turned from one of my assumption that I was getting involved in a defensive action to one where it was actually gearing up to be offensive, where the military veterans' plan was not just to stand as a interference line between the state and the protesters as a defensive line. No, it was actually to carry out offensive maneuvers against a projected enemy, being the cops and the National Guard, whoever would defend that DAPL pipeline. We were about an hour away, as I've said in previous videos, from trying to take the hill where the DAPL drill was situated. And that would have meant, for sure, a significant conflict with the police or the National Guard or both. And it may have meant deaths. And that wasn't the only thing. You know, there was also a plan by the veterans there to begin interfering with the communications on the other side. Equipment was coming in and things were being set up to jam signals, radio signals, internet signals and such, that the other side could access. There was going to be basically counterintelligence maneuvering going on. They were excited when I showed up with my signals intelligence background because of my potential to collaborate with this. So it was a different kind of situation, and for me I felt two different things. On the one side, I felt excitement because I don't believe in the efficacy of protest. So for me, it actually makes more sense to get on the offensive and actually do some maneuvers and some strategies and some action offensively. To me, that makes a lot more sense than protest. On the other hand, when I learned that that was the plan, my stomach got a little bit weak, because, you know, I'm all too aware of what it means to go into an armed conflict, and to think that we were about to enter into what is basically an armed conflict unarmed. It's insane, you know. To me, I was a little scared out there, thinking about what it is we were getting into. It was going to be a losing battle. But I didn't know if any other veterans actually had arms or not. I would not be surprised if there were some, even though they weren't allowed in the camps there. We're talking about guys who usually do carry and feel kind of naked without arms. A lot of them. So I would not doubt if there were people carrying, and I would not doubt if those people started using those weapons when it came down to their lives, which is what it would come down to with the National Guard and the police, who have already demonstrated in the past their disregard for the welfare of people in their use of force. So I was a little bit afraid about what was going to go on. I was very glad when the announcement was made that DAPL's permit for that easement was being denied. I think if anything else happened at all, we would have seen, and I would have experienced something quite traumatic, not only for the individuals involved, but I think for the country. Because when you have a group of veterans, war veterans, be assaulted and perhaps killed by a group of current military personnel, and I include the police in that. The police have become internal military, and they pretty much always were. When you have that situation, it's very volatile. I think the country itself may have gone into a kind of a panic that could have been deadly had that gone any other way. So we were down to an hour and a half there. I wonder, on the broader national level, how close America is to that kind of implosion over their politics. You see Trump preparing to be inaugurated, sworn in, and there's a big movement out there to deny him that, to go with the popular votes, fix the problem with the electoral college system, which is obviously problematic if the popular votes go one way and the electoral college go another. That's not a democracy. But if it's fixed in a way that it retroactively takes Trump out of the seat for the presidency, I think American society would implode. I think that would be the end of the nation. I think there might be civil war. I think that people don't appreciate what that really means. I don't see the fear out there that maybe should be there with the potentiality of civil war. I hear people talking about civil war, which is, again, like, this is the first time in my lifetime I've ever heard people talking about that. To me, that's a scary, scary, scary prospect. I don't think people want to go there. I don't think they understand, because in their lifetimes, even in their parents' lifetimes, there's never been a conflict at home. But I don't think they're prepared really to watch their brothers being killed in the streets, to see their daughters being, raped violently. I don't think they appreciate what warfare is about. And this thing with Trump, I sure don't like Trump myself. But I knew he was, as soon as he started running, I knew he was going to be the president. For a variety of reasons. I think most of all because he comes off as more of a human being. I think his flaws played to his benefit. Obviously, there's a lot of people that voted with him because they identify with the racism, because they identify with the sexism, and they identify with all of those characteristics that a lot of people really look down on Trump for. So there's those people, but there's also people who just voted for him because they know that Hillary is more of the same old scam, and they want something new. And as Michael Moore had suggested, they want to go ahead and throw a hand grenade into the system, and let's see where the pieces fall. Hillary Clinton is not a real person. I mean, she is a real person, obviously, but she's not a person of the people. And Donald, obviously, he's a gazillionaire, so how people identify with him, though, is because he's stupid, and he says ignorant and does ignorant things, and he wears all of his shortcomings right on his sleeve, and so people know he's human. They don't know what Hillary is. They know she's a fake something. Anyway, I see a tension growing around the presidency, and it feels to me almost like the same kind of a thing where people who may have been with the extreme left, or might have gone and leaned in that direction a little bit more, are now a little bit concerned about leaning in that direction, because those guys are becoming almost too militant, too extremist, too religious about it themselves. And the discourse of the people who support Trump, to me, really reminds me at this point of the early discourse of the people or who are against Trump, are the people who were against Obama, even down to the whole thing like Trump is doing his tweeting and stuff like this. Well, I seem to remember watching, people talk to Obama about how is he going to keep using his BlackBerry now that he's taken office and stuff. That I remember very well. There was a big question: is he going to keep using his BlackBerry? I don't know. I think I've kind of lost track of my my stream here. But basically, what I'm saying is that things seem very on edge for the United States right now. And I hope the kind of decisions, the right decisions, are made from people from all sides to keep that escalation from going over the brim. Because if that escalation of the tension goes over the brim, I don't know. I'm not in the United States, but I'm glad for that. But I think that's just going to mean a lot of sadness for people and this kind of thing. And usually, I believe there's there's an easy fix for all of it, because we're all just human beings. We're all just human beings. We're all flawed. We all, I think people need to take their minds out of that two-party system and quit choosing a team to defend, and instead be willing to talk about concessions and negotiations. When I think about the pipeline, the DAPL pipeline, a lot of people are saying, oh, this is an evil thing, it's the black snake, this kind of a thing, and the whole pipeline has to be fought against. Well, I don't know. I sure do enjoy my gas-heated home. I sure do enjoy being able to drive here and there. Like, unless people are actually willing to let go of the lifestyle that we have, how can you say the pipeline shouldn't be there? Now, what's the concern about the pipeline? There's a couple of them. One, the Standing Rock people know that area where the easement is, there's a history of burials. So it's going through a burial ground, and they don't want that. That needs to be respected. A different location needs to be chosen. It's just simple. You wouldn't go through somebody's cemetery, except for it's the native people, so it's like they don't count. Simple. Choose a different location. Choose one that doesn't have such a strong attachment for people in that way. What else? There's a concern for the water, that the water has to be safe. The drinking water, the river water. So, what do you do about that? Well, how about double containment? How about whatever pipeline you put in there, it wrap up in a different pipeline, and you have sensors, so that if there's any leakage, the sensors go off, it stops the flow, and the containment pipeline itself has more than 100% capacity of any potential spill, to contain any potential spill. It's like my friend Tom. He works with chemicals in his business, some pretty volatile chemicals. He has to have a double containment system. If there's any leakage from his chemicals in storage, the secondary containment has to be able to have the capacity to carry 110% of any leakage. That way it doesn't actually leak into the broader system. It just leaks into the secondary containment. This is not genius stuff, right? I don't know if this if this is something that's normally done around rivers. I know that oil pipelines have been, the last several years, we've had pipeline leaks that have gone into rivers. That's not acceptable. And that should easily be assuaged by the uses of double containment systems. These kind of things. There's very, very simple concessions that can be made so that people can get along. And I think when you're talking about the national level, we need to be looking at those as well. All of this discourse about how the other side is evil is not going to function for anybody's long-term benefit. That is the problematic discourse that got people and the politics to where they are today. We need to get rid of that Christian good and evil thing. Get rid of it. Realize that we're all people and we're all in the same boat together. And we're intelligent and we're learned. And we can use that intelligence to get away from parties and teams and this kind of thing, and figure out a different way of making decisions, where the decisions are those that are respectful, not just to beliefs, but to proven facts. I think science should trump beliefs. Where it's where there's a consensus among scientists. Things like global warming. To be a global warming denier, like Trump is, it's unacceptable. Doesn't mean he's evil. We need to get away from that. And the same thing in all these other situations. Need to learn how to meet each other and move forward. Not let the tensions get out of hand, and the feeling